Just Jordan Johnston, first of all, just talk us from your point of view how that deal came about.
Yeah, we had a look at JJ basically what was it, 3 weeks ago when Maka broke his arm. Had a look in the market to see what was available, Nans wise. One of the big things for us was, getting somebody in who could do a job till the end of the season without having to commit anything till for next year. Which initially ruled JJ out, so obviously we went to, plan B and had a look at some other options in the nine spot, but that didn't materialise because some of those teams that we was looking at their backups had some injuries in, their squad. So we weren't able to, get those players. And then we went back to obviously, JJ and, Witness were very, very compliant and helped us and, said, look, till the end of the season, we can help you out there. It gives JJ an opportunity in Super League. He's someone I know closely from my time with him at Hull FC. Real competitor, real energizer, plays with plenty of intent, plenty of energy and enthusiasm, and I know he'll be a really good addition to the group with his personality. And I know that the cast fans will love what he's all about because he plays with his heart on his sleeve, plays well above his weight, and he's got good experience. And it allows us to, use him to start the games and wear some bruises and help us to get on that front foot and set the tone from a defensive point of view. And then, we've got, Kane Robbo can come on and, be that running threat, which we know that he's capable of being for us off the bench. So we think the dynamic of those two will help us moving forward.
He was just saying, JJ, when we spoke to him, that they probably didn't see the best of him towards the back end of his spell with Hull. How do you sort of propose to get the best out of him over the next 10 games?
I think the relationship that I've got with JJ is a good one. I know what he's about. I know he wants to be a starter and I know what his strengths and his weaknesses are. I think one of the big things with JJ is defensively, he hits well above his weight. Once he gets his defence, aimed in and he gets that target on people, he sort of like flows off the back of that. And the big thing is not overcomplicating it. If we get some quick rucks, just asking JJ to run and making sure that, the service side of his game is good and get the ball to our creative players in the likes of Miller and Dean and Widdop and Westerman. And Joe will certainly help JJ in that middle channel. So, I'm looking forward to, seeing what JJ can do for us. And alongside, like I say, Kane Rob, I think it's a good little combination that we could build, between now and the end of the season.
Just on Liam Watts, it looked at one point like he wasn't going to be able to make his 300th Super League appearance this week, but you've got him off that 2-game ban. Is that a cast iron example of his reputation going before him?
It's difficult to say. There was a little bit, obviously, in the contact, but there is that element of, how could I put it, his reputation does precede him a little bit. The club did a great job in getting him off, put a strong case to obviously the panel. And, there was an agreement with us. There was 4 or 5 similar incidents during the course of the match from both the Castleford players and the St Helens players, which you could argue were similar sort of an offence. It was a very, very wet night. There was a lot of slipping and sliding and people losing their feet. And on that occasion, obviously Liam, lost his feet a little bit. Lewis Dodd obviously makes the decision to run the football and, Jack Broadbent makes impact, which allows Lewis to get stiffened up so from a contact point of view and isn't able to fall forward, which impacts a little bit on obviously what Watsy does around the legs. So, we've managed to get him off. We're really, really pleased because we're a better team when Liam's in it and, finding some form. And I think the big thing for Liam is just trying to get a continuous and consistent game time. He's ended up being a couple of games, then he gets a suspension. Then he has to sit down for a couple of weeks, and in them couple of weeks, he's maybe sat down. Another player may have played well and warrants staying in the team. So, Liam's had a tough couple of years with regards to, disciplinary, and we hope that those misdemeanors, shall we say, behind him, and we've worked a little bit on his technique and tried to get a little bit more control into his approach to contact and talk about his target area, etc. So. Really pleased that, Liam's available for us this week.
Yeah, it's a big milestone for him on Friday, isn't it? So if Jordan Johnston's going to make his debut, any other selection decisions that you've had to make ahead of Leigh?
Yeah, unfortunately, Jason Quarry's not going to be available for us in a kick catch session on Monday. Rolled an ankle. It's ended up being a little bit sorer than we hoped it'd be. Missed training on Tuesday. Did a little bit of the team run today, but still a little bit sore. So Jace unfortunately misses out this week. So we've got a decision to make there on that in that wing spot. And in a strange sort of way, we've got a luxury of outside backs. The emergence of Elliot Wallace, him coming back into the fold. Beretta Freemore, experienced player who, is a strong ball carrier out of backfield and can contribute. And then Will Tate's done a good job. And then, you've got Greg Eden waiting in the wings. He's a couple of weeks away from selection. And then there's the Mahe Fanoas of this world and Jack Broadbent. So in them outside backs, the emergence of some of those younger members of our squad, in particular Jace, in particular Elliot, and in particular Will, it certainly helped us.
So 10 games to go, 4 of those games for you at home. How significant is this one against Leigh on Friday then?
Yeah, it's a big one. Our performance last week against St Helens from a defensive point of view was very, very good. We'll need to be good again defensively because Leigh are a very, very good offensive team. They showed that last week against Hull Kingston Rovers. If you allow them to get the shapes on and get some momentum in that ruck area, they can post points. So we'll need to be very, very good defensively. On the flip side, I think Joe being back in the team, is going to help our offensive play this week. And being back at home is, I think, a big one. The jungle was rocking against Warrington in the first, 15, 20 minutes. The performance from the boys against Warrington really got the fans on side. And, there was that extra man that we needed, to bring us home against Warrington. So we're really, really conscious that we need to get the crowd into the game early and start well. And if we do that, we're looking for a good performance, albeit against a team who are in very, very good form.
Just before I pass you over, can I just ask you about the 2 PNG guys that you keep being linked with, Nixon Putt and Sylvester Namo? Are those guys on your radar at the moment?
Yeah, definitely on the radar. 2 players that we've looked at with interest. Players that got good pedigree, played against the England team in the World Cup, was very, very dominant in that PNG team. They fit the age profile and, they're certainly players that, we've had a good look at.
Is he recovering from a knee injury at the moment?
Yeah, he's recovering from a knee injury.
Would that affect any potential deal?
Potentially, but we've, had a good look. He's only 22 years of age, so, he's of good age. He's obviously picked up a bit of a knee injury, but, that was, I think it was over 2 months ago now. So, if we, were to, sign him, he'd be available in the early rounds for next season. So, there's a little bit of short-term pain for long-term game if we obviously did sign that chap.
Each time you've got a win recently, Wakey have responded. How are your players handling the pressure of the situation you're in?
We're not looking at Wakefield. We're just looking at our own performance and looking at what we need to do. We've got to make sure that our performances are good. We've got to make sure that we turn up ready to train, to improve week on week and just go after every game as and when it comes. And this week's no different. You're coming up against a very, very good team, well-coached team with some good players in good form. We've got a good vibe around our place at the moment. I think since that Magic Weekend game against Leeds, there's a feel-good factor. We need to just continue that positivity and make sure that we perform well.
Is it a balancing act as a coach between making sure they know what's at stake and taking some of that pressure away?
Definitely is. I think all the players know what's at stake. They're playing for their livelihoods, and if that doesn't motivate performance, I don't know what does. I don't think I need to point that out to them. You want to try and release the pressure and allow them just to play with that freedom, because I think when we're at our best, we play on the front foot, we play a more attacking brand, and there's a freedom to where that we play. So it is a fine balance. I think in the background, the players know what is at stake. There'll come a time, where you may have to, really push those buttons. But, we've got 10 games to go. We need to, focus week in, week out on giving our best performance individually and collectively. And if we do that, we know that we're capable of beating the best teams, and we know that we're capable of going toe-to-toe with the best teams, as we proved last week against St Helens and as we proved the week before against Warrington. So it's in our hands. We need to just make sure that we showcase the best of Castleford on a week-to-week basis.
Everybody's spoken about the experience in the squad. Is this where it comes in handy? Because you have got some big characters in there, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. I think, the likes of Joe Westerman and, Gareth Widdop and Jacob Miller, Jordan Turner, there is some experience there. What we need from them is, using that experience to influence the younger guys in the squad who have come in and, done a really, really good job for us with regard to their energy and their intent, and come up with big performances. I don't think it's any coincidence when those senior players play to the level that they can play to, we get good results and we get good performances. Widdop against, Warrington played exceptionally well. So did Miller, so did Westerman. We need them to, be good, play well, and drive the team and drive the performance, and get the other guys, assisting them by performing well themselves.
Just finally on Leigh, I think there's an expectation that they'll fade away and what have you. But are they genuine title contenders in your eyes?
Yeah, I do. I think they are. I think the feel-good factor and the vibe they've got, the town fully behind them. They're a really, really dangerous team. I think they're a very, very well-balanced team as well. You look at the squad, it's only small, but they've got some real quality in there. And you look in the back row position, they've got O'Donnell, they've got Holmes, they've got Wardle, and they've got Hughes, 4 very, very experienced players who are all equally as good and can contribute to performance very, very well. So, yeah, I think they're a very, very good team. And, the additions that they've made, the Amones and Asiatas and Robin Mulhern's having an inspired season after, a tough couple of years at Warrington. And then, the Ricky Latellis of this world and Josh Chandler's, are playing exceptionally well. So they've got a real well-balanced team, some strike through the middle, some strike on the edges, and, in the Nan and the half in Lam and Ipape, a very well-balanced team. So we need to be good and, go after it on Friday.
Just in terms of your improved performances in recent weeks, are you pleased and satisfied with the improvement that the team have shown since obviously you were first appointed on that interim basis to where you are now?
Yeah. We've I'd say the last 4 to 6 weeks has been a marked improvement. We spoke about hitting that reset button after the Hull FC Challenge Cup game. I'm really attacking the second half of the season. And I think the second half of the season, since we spoke about, making improvements on and off the field, they've certainly done that. The performances have improved. We've picked up a couple of wins. And we've taken confidence from the fact that we've beaten one of the better teams in Warrington at home. And, we really, really went toe-to-toe with St Helens, who were highly motivated to perform well last week. And we was able to go toe-to-toe with them for 80 minutes. So we've taken confidence from that. We know that we've got a good group of players there. We know that we've got some experience in there. And we know that we need to play well and perform well to get the results. And that's what we're looking to do on Friday.
Yeah, is Joe definitely back this week?
Yeah, Joe Westerman will be back playing.
What was it? Just a little bump on his knee?
Yeah, just had a little bit of a grumble on the joint line of the knee. Didn't feel as though he'd be able to, move laterally. And against St Helens, you need to be able to move well because they do test you in that middle channel. So, that week rest and settled it down, has been beneficial and allows us to obviously get him, fully ready to go against Leigh on Friday.
And just the last one for me, where are the main, you mentioned Leigh being pretty strong across the park, especially in the back row. Where are their main danger areas coming from? I mean, you look at the 2 13s playing on Friday, it could be an exciting contest between Asiata and Westerman, who are the better ball playing forwards at the comp.
Yeah, they are. They're both, very similar in the roles that they play for their respective teams. Asiata's, someone who's got good experience from the NRL and has got that ball playing ability, and he links to those edges exceptionally well. The left edge is strong. Latelli and Charlie and Lam, it's a real strike edge. So our right edge defensively, need to be good and be connected, and we'll be looking for them to, put in a strong performance on Friday night. And for us, Westerman being back, does give us that link and that creativity through the middle of the field with his ball playing ability, and also his ability to carry the ball. I think it gets underestimated how well he can carry the ball and the meters that he makes for our team. So, we're really, really happy that Joe's back. And we know that when Joe's firing and in the team and playing well, we're a very, very difficult team to play against.
I was just saying to Jordan a bit earlier that, if somebody had said at the start of the season that by early July, we'd have, Castleford and Leigh playing each other and it would be second from top against second from bottom, most people would have thought you'd be the second from top and Leigh would be the second from bottom, having been promoted. So they've done incredibly well, haven't they? But a lot of people keep saying, as was said a bit earlier, that at some point, they're going to slip up and, find it difficult to sustain the challenge that they've already made. And I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't be a bad time for that to start this weekend, this Friday night, if that is the case. If you can put one over them, it would be a massive game for you.
Yeah, it'd be a huge result for us if we was able to put in a strong performance and catch Leigh on an off day. But I can't see Leigh being off. They're a very, very well balanced team. Adrian's got them, playing exceptionally well. I think that's good for us. We want to see the best of Leigh on Friday and know that we have to perform well to make sure that it's sharpened our focus to perform well and get the result on Friday. They're a good side. We'll need to play well to beat them. And if they have one of those off days against us, then we've got to take, them opportunities that are presented to us.
Of course, teams analyse in great detail their forthcoming opponents' last match, or probably more than just one last match. But it'd be quite difficult for them this week with you having Jordan Johnston in. Of course, he's not played for you before, and I suppose they won't quite know what to expect from you. That must be quite an advantage from your point of view. I think you know, in other words, what's coming from them. I mean, I would say their main threat is the link between Lam and Apapi, because they've combined to score a great try at the weekend. But, from their point of view, that it's a bit more uncertain.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the impact that Jacob Miller's having in the last couple of weeks has been of real benefit to us. Since, Paul broke his arm, I think Jacob's, assumed responsibility for the team and has really, really found his voice and started to feel like the team, is very much his, to control. And I think these performances over the last couple of weeks have been very, very good. So, we're looking forward to obviously Jacob Miller, leading the team over the next couple of weeks on an on-field point of view. And like you say, the link that, Joe Westerman provides to our outside backs is a really, really important one. And JJ, we know what he's all about. He's a dangerous, runner from dummy half if we get those quick rucks. And we know that if he gets some quick rucks, he can provide us with, another threat from the 9 position, along with obviously Kane Robb when he comes off the bench. So I think it's very much about controlling our own performance, trying to limit the impact of, their key players in the likes of Asiata and Ipape and Lam, like you say, but also making sure that we go out and play the best that we possibly can and go and showcase what we're about as an attacking threat. And that's what we spoke about this week, go out and play to your absolute best. Because if we do that, you give yourself every chance of getting a result, and we need one this week.
Presumably, the fact that you knew Jordan at Hull during your time there was why you went for him on this occasion. Presumably, if you'd not known him quite so well, you'd have been much more wary of signing a player on a loan deal like this to the end of the season. Yeah,
definitely. That relationship that you have, all coaches, when they're looking at recruiting players, do the due diligence and speak to players who've played with them, speak to coaches who've worked with them. The luxury that I had with obviously JJ was I've worked with him, closely in that 2020 season at Hull FC. I know what he's capable of. Guys who've played with him and against him, know what he's capable of, and he fits what we're looking to do. He's a real energizer. He brings plenty of energy to games and he brings plenty of energy to training, and he's got some quality in there as well. So he's a good fit for us. It allows us to, start games with obviously JJ, and then allows us to, bring Kane Robb off the bench, when the rucks have softened up and sped up a little bit, and we hope that that'll bring a different dynamic to us as a team.
Looking at it, from a distance, were you a bit surprised that Hull were apparently quite happy to let Jordan leave that club last year?
It's difficult to comment on, the team's decisions to let players go. They'll have had their reasons. They had a young Nan in Deneve Barnforth on their books, and Danny Out still playing exceptional.
And Lovadua, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, and Lovadua. So it was, too many cooks can spoil the broth, so to speak. And they maybe felt that, there wasn't a real pathway for JJ as the Nan for them moving forward. So, JJ obviously made the decision, go back to where it started from at Widnes. And we're really, really happy that, we've got an opportunity to work with him between now and the end of the season.
And just looking again at finally at this game this weekend, if you do beat Leigh, there's a very good chance you'd draw level with Huddersfield, because they've got a difficult game in against Catalans away. Although I think your points difference would still be inferior to theirs unless there was some quite remarkable scores. But it would be good to start climbing that table and pulling ahead of some of the other teams that are catchable, so to speak, in the relatively short term.
Yeah, definitely. We need to look at the table. Huddersfield are only 2 points, which is one win above us. If you can draw level with them, then you can start looking a little bit higher up the table. And the competition is a real tight one. There's only like Catalan who are, 2 points clear at the top. And then, from second down, there's not many victories which are separating the teams. And I think what's really important for us is, we want to be a team that can, pick off a couple of wins and get ourselves, away from, the bottom and challenging, the lower end of that playoff race. And there's still plenty of games to go in the season. There's still plenty of twists and turns, and there's lots of ups and downs. We feel as though we're on an upward trajectory, and we need to continue that.
Just one thing, finally, on Miller. Will he be the captain on Friday night?
Miller?
No, well, is it Alex Miller or Jacob Miller who will be the captain?
Alex Miller will be the captain.
He'll still be the captain, right?
He was named vice captain at the beginning of the year, along with Jane as captain. So
it's just when you were talking about Jacob just a bit earlier, you were sort of saying how he's leading the team. I wasn't sure whether you meant he was the captain, but no, you're sticking with Alex. Okay.
No, Alex is the captain and the on-field general. So
okay.
Obviously, you brought Jordan in this week. I'm just wondering if you're looking to bring anyone else in until the rest of the season, or is everything now aiming for next year?
We're always looking, but like we've said before, and I've been misquoted when I've said there's nothing out there. There's nothing out there what suits us. Okay, so we need to make sure that if we recruit somebody, he fits what we want. He doesn't block somebody's pathway. That person can impact and help the team in the here and now, but also help with regard to the culture and what we want to do off the field, and also on the field. So, when I've said previously about there's nothing out there, and that's been misquoted, there's been nothing out there for us. And what we've done is, we've remained patient, and we've made sure that the players that we've brought in Riley Dean and Jordan Johnston are going to help us in the here and now. And what we didn't want to do was bring in players in a short-term stint which impact on your long-term, decisions, because, that's what agents try and do. Well, we'll get him in now, and, you pay him an absolute fortune, and you're tied into someone who's on an absolute fortune for a couple of years, and, their motivation and desire may not be where it needs to be. So we've been really, really conscious of making sure that we make the right decisions, and make sure that the players that we sign, can impact and help us in the present, but also don't impact, obviously, with your future recruitment.